The day Earth was mocked began like any other. The skies were clear, the sun was shining, and people on the planet went about their daily lives, oblivious to the impending disaster. But everything changed in an instant. A massive fleet of alien ships appeared in the skies above Earth. They descended from the heavens, blocking out the sun with their colossal size. Each ship was an intimidating behemoth, its hull gleaming with an eerie, metallic glow. It was the Galactic Council, a name that sent fear into the hearts of every civilization across the galaxy. This was the most advanced force in the universe, an empire of technologically superior beings who ruled with absolute power. Their ships were faster, stronger, and equipped with weapons that could destroy entire planets. As the alien fleet hovered ominously above Earth's cities, the people of Earth looked up in terror. The sight was enough to make the bravest warriors tremble. But it wasn't just the fleet's overwhelming size that frightened humanity. It was the cruel message that the Galactic Council sent to Earth. In an urgent broadcast transmitted across the galaxy, a voice, cold and mocking, spoke, "Earth, you are nothing. Your ships are obsolete, your technology primitive. We have come to remind you of your place in the universe." The screen flickered, and a hologram of the Galactic Council's flagship appeared, a monstrous ship bristling with weapons that could wipe out entire fleets in seconds. Then, the camera zoomed in on the Council's leader, a tall, pale figure with piercing eyes, who looked down upon Earth as if it were a speck of dust. He laughed, a deep, echoing sound that resonated throughout the galaxy. "Your military is a joke. You dare to challenge us with these pitiful vessels? We shall destroy you easily." The broadcast continued, showing Earth's meager fleet, old ships that were no match for the technological might of the Council. The humans had no cloaking devices, no advanced weaponry, no hyperspeed engines. Their ships were patched together from years of limited resources, their most advanced weapons nothing more than prototypes. They were outdated, unfit to defend Earth against the Council's might. The people of Earth watched in stunned silence as the leader of the Galactic Council mocked them relentlessly. It was a humiliation they couldn't ignore. But as the broadcast ended, one man stood up to the challenge. Captain Jake Carter, a tall, broad-shouldered man with dark eyes filled with determination, refused to let the mocking words of the Galactic Council break his spirit. He wasn't just a captain, he was a symbol of the resilience of humanity. Standing on the bridge of Earth's flagship, the Resolute, Jake clenched his fists, his jaw set with resolve. He had heard the broadcast, felt the weight of the insult, and something inside him ignited. Jake was not the type of man to back down in the face of adversity. He was a fighter, and more importantly, he was the leader of the Earth Defense Squadron, the best the planet had to offer. He had seen impossible odds before, but he knew the stakes were higher now. The Council might have laughed, but they didn't understand one thing: humans never gave up. Not now. Not ever. He stared out of the viewing window at the approaching alien fleet, a fleet that outnumbered Earth's ships by hundreds. The sky was darkened by their presence. For a moment, he felt the weight of the galaxy on his shoulders. Earth was on the verge of annihilation, but Captain Carter wasn't about to let that happen. He turned to his crew, who stood in tense silence, waiting for his orders. "Let them laugh," Jake said, his voice low but filled with defiance. "They'll regret it soon enough. We might be outnumbered, but we have something they don't, our will to fight." His words sparked a fire in the hearts of the crew. They had always been the underdogs, the ones others underestimated, but this time it was different. This time, they had a secret weapon. "Get ready," Jake continued, "we're going to show the Galactic Council exactly what humanity is made of." In the shadows of Earth's fleet, a new force was quietly taking shape. The ships, though old, had been retrofitted with cutting-edge technology. Earth's engineers had worked tirelessly to modify them with cloaking devices that would allow them to hide from the advanced sensors of the Council's ships. The ships also had AI-powered weapons that could predict and counter the enemy's moves, leveling the playing field. It wasn't much compared to the Council's arsenal, but it was enough to give Earth a fighting chance. As the final preparations were made, Jake's thoughts turned to Aurora. She was Earth's most advanced AI, a brilliant and calculating mind housed within the ship's mainframe. Aurora wasn't just any artificial intelligence, she was humanity's best hope against the Galactic Council. Her algorithms could outthink the enemy's strategies, predicting their every move. With Aurora's help, Earth had a fighting chance. "Are we ready?" Jake asked, turning to his comms officer. "Ready, Captain," the officer replied. "Aurora has completed the final analysis. We've got a shot at them." Jake nodded and took his seat in the command chair. "Let's make sure they never forget who they're dealing with." Meanwhile, on the surface of Earth, people were glued to their screens, watching the events unfold. Some were in despair, knowing that their world might be destroyed in a matter of hours. Others, however, held on to a small sliver of hope. They had heard stories of the bravery of Earth's soldiers, the strength of their spirit. Perhaps, just perhaps, their defiance could be enough to turn the tide. But it was Jake Carter and his crew who would carry the weight of humanity's hopes on their shoulders. They were the ones who would stand against the might of the Galactic Council. Back on the bridge, Jake's voice rang out as he gave the order to move forward. "All ships, prepare for cloaking. We're going in." The fleet began to fade into the darkness of space, their forms becoming invisible to the enemy's sensors. It was a bold move, perhaps too bold, but it was the only chance they had. As the ships made their way toward the heart of the Council's fleet, Jake could feel the tension rise. This wasn't just a battle for survival, this was a battle for Earth's pride, a fight to show that humanity wouldn't be a footnote in the history of the galaxy. They were ready to prove that they were capable of more than just survival, they were capable of victory. Visuals, the camera zoomed out, showing the enormous alien ships hovering above Earth, their sleek and menacing forms like a storm cloud threatening to obliterate everything in its path. In stark contrast, Earth's fleet was small, almost invisible in the vastness of space. But despite their size, the Earth ships glowed with an inner strength, an energy that hinted at the fire within their crew. The screen shifted between the two fleets, the tension palpable as both sides prepared for the battle to come. The silence on the bridge of the Resolute was deafening. Captain Jake Carter stood at the center, staring at the massive holographic display in front of him. The image of the Galactic Council's fleet loomed large, immense ships that were equipped with weaponry capable of destroying entire planets. There was no denying the odds. The humans were vastly outnumbered, their ships small and outdated in comparison. Yet, despite the overwhelming force before him, Jake's expression never wavered. His crew had just witnessed the ultimate humiliation from the Galactic Council. The voice of the Council's leader still echoed in Jake's mind, mocking Earth's military capabilities, dismissing them as nothing more than a joke. The words were cruel, but they only fueled his resolve. Jake knew that this was humanity's one and only shot at survival. He had to make it count. "All right, team," Jake said, his voice calm but unwavering, "we only have one chance at this. They laughed at us. They think we're weak. But we've got something they don't, determination." The crew around him stood at attention, eyes fixed on Jake. The tension in the room was thick, each person feeling the weight of the situation. Jake's eyes scanned the faces of his team, his most trusted soldiers, his friends. They all knew what was at stake. Bonner, his best friend and second-in-command, stood next to him. Bonner had been with Jake through countless missions, each one more dangerous than the last. His face was tense, but there was no fear in his eyes, only resolve. He had always followed Jake into battle, and now, as Earth's survival hung in the balance, he would do so again. Jake's gaze met Bonner's for a brief moment, and without saying a word, both men understood. This was their chance to redeem themselves and their planet. "We've got one shot at this," Jake continued, his voice rising with confidence. "We're going to infiltrate the Galactic Council space and strike them where it hurts, right in their pride." A quiet murmur spread through the crew, but it wasn't one of doubt. They trusted Jake, and they trusted the plan. The atmosphere on the bridge had shifted. They weren't just human soldiers facing an impossible battle anymore, they were warriors with a purpose, a mission. They were going to show the Galactic Council that humanity would not be intimidated, that their pride would be shattered. "Everyone listen up," Jake said, turning his attention back to the holographic display. He tapped a few buttons, and the plan appeared in front of the crew. The map showed the Galactic Council's fleet, along with Earth's fleet, the small specks of humanity's ships hidden in the vastness of space. "Our fleet may be smaller, but we've got the advantage of stealth. We're going to use our cloaking devices to get past their sensors. The Council won't see us coming. Once we're inside their fleet, we'll strike fast and hard, hitting them where they least expect it, their command ships. Their arrogance blinds them. They don't think we can hurt them. Let's show them just how wrong they are." Jake's finger traced the route they would take. It was risky, beyond risky. They would have to navigate through deep space, staying out of range of the Council's advanced sensors, and get close enough to launch a devastating strike. But Jake was confident that if they moved quickly and decisively, they could inflict damage before the Council had time to react. The element of surprise would be their greatest weapon. "But we need to be careful," Jake continued, "if they catch us even once, it's over. We won't get a second chance. Our cloaking devices can only protect us for so long." Bonner nodded. He had seen the tech. It was impressive. Earth's best engineers had worked tirelessly to install cloaking devices on the fleet's ships, technology that would allow them to blend into the darkness of space, hiding their presence from the enemy. The ships also had new AI-driven combat systems that would outthink the Council's strategies at every turn. Earth's military may have been outdated, but they weren't going into this blind. They had tricks up their sleeves that the Council wouldn't see coming. Despite the excitement building in the crew, a sense of dread lingered. This was not going to be an easy fight. They were going into the heart of the enemy's territory, vastly outnumbered and under-equipped. But that's what made this mission so dangerous, and so important. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about proving that humans could stand toe-to-toe with the most powerful force in the galaxy. Jake turned to Bonner, his eyes hardening with determination. "We're doing this for Earth," he said quietly. "For our families. For every single person who's ever believed in us. We're going to avenge the humiliation the Council put us through. We're going to show them that humanity doesn't bow down to anyone." Bonner clapped a hand on Jake's shoulder, his voice low but filled with fire. "For Earth. For Earth," Jake repeated, his voice steady. The crew gathered around, their faces set with determination. They were ready. "All right," Jake said, his tone firm and resolute. "Prepare the fleet. Get those cloaking devices online. We leave in 10 minutes." As Jake gave the orders, he couldn't help but feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. This wasn't just another mission. This was humanity's future. He had to lead them to victory, and he would do whatever it took to ensure that the Galactic Council knew the true strength of Earth. In the quiet of the command center, the crew worked together, moving in perfect synchrony. There was no fear, only purpose. The ships powered up, their cloaking devices engaged, rendering them invisible to the enemy's sensors. The AI-driven systems hummed with energy, ready to outthink the Council's forces at every turn. Earth's fleet may have been small, but in this moment, it was a force to be reckoned with. Outside the hull of the Resolute, Earth's fleet readied itself. Cloaked in silence, they were like shadows, moving undetected through the void of space. The Council's fleet was still unaware, confident in their superiority. But that confidence would soon be shattered. As Jake stood on the bridge, watching the fleet prepare, he knew there was no turning back. The next few hours would determine the fate of humanity. He turned to Aurora, the AI who had become an integral part of their mission. "Aurora," Jake said, his voice steady. "Are we ready?" "Yes," "Captain," Aurora's calm voice replied through the comms. "All systems are functioning within optimal parameters. We are prepared for the mission." Jake took a deep breath, his fingers tightening around the armrests of his chair. "Let's do this. For Earth." Visuals, the camera zoomed in on Jake's face, his eyes filled with unwavering resolve. The shot lingered for a moment, capturing the tension and the weight of the decision ahead. The scene shifted to the cloaked fleet, barely visible against the vast backdrop of space. The ships drifted silently, preparing to engage in the most dangerous mission of their lives. The hum of the cloaking devices was the only sound breaking the silence as Earth's final hope moved forward, ready to take on the Galactic Council. This was their one shot. And they weren't going to waste it. The stars around them were eerily quiet as Captain Jake Carter's fleet advanced into Galactic Council territory. Earth's ships, cloaked in silence, drifted undetected through the void. It was a calculated risk, a dangerous, nearly impossible mission, but they had come this far. There was no turning back now. Inside the command center of the Resolute, Jake's eyes scanned the tactical display. Every ship in his fleet was in position, their cloaking devices keeping them hidden from the powerful sensors of the Council's ships. They were moving closer, preparing to strike where the Council would least expect it, right at their heart. The time to act had arrived. "Ready for the first strike, Captain," came Aurora's calm voice over the intercom. Earth's AI was more than just a strategic asset, it had become a vital part of the mission. It was faster, smarter, and more adaptable than any other artificial intelligence in the galaxy. Jake's gaze hardened as he looked out into the cold expanse of space. "Let's make them regret underestimating us," he muttered under his breath. With a single command, the fleet's cloaking devices powered down. For a brief, tense moment, there was nothing but silence. Then, as if in a sudden wave, the Earth ships decloaked one by one, their sleek, modified forms emerging from the shadows like ghosts. The Galactic Council's fleet had been preparing for Earth's arrival, expecting a show of force, but nothing could have prepared them for the surprise that followed. The Council's ships loomed large on the tactical display, massive structures that were capable of devastating entire fleets. A chorus of mocking laughter echoed through the Council's comms, clearly overconfident. They saw Earth's ships, small, old, and outdated, and they mocked them. "They think they can challenge us," came a voice from one of the Council's commanding officers. "This will be over before it even starts." Jake didn't respond. Instead, he gave the order. "Attack," he commanded. In an instant, the Earth fleet erupted into action, darting from one ship to another, using their cloaking technology to strike with deadly precision. Their movements were like shadows, swift and unpredictable. The first few seconds of the battle were chaotic. Explosions lit up the darkness of space, and Earth ships maneuvered in and out of the shadows, narrowly avoiding laser blasts and missile fire. Each ship struck a specific target, a vulnerable area of the Council's fleet, focusing on weak points like weapon systems, power cores, and shield generators. The Council was taken by surprise. Their fleet's vast size and superior firepower were useless against Earth's strategy. The overconfident officers who had laughed at the human fleet moments ago were now scrambling to respond, trying desperately to regroup and mount a counterattack. But it was too late. Earth's forces had already hit them where it hurt. On the bridge of the Resolute, Jake's eyes gleamed with determination. "Keep it up, team. Strike fast and hard, don't let them recover." Aurora's voice broke through the chaos, calm and precise. "Captain, the enemy is adapting. They've engaged their superior AI systems." Jake nodded grimly. The Council had always relied on their advanced artificial intelligence to outmaneuver opponents. But Earth's AI, Aurora, was no ordinary system. She was designed to learn, to evolve, to outthink any challenge that came her way. As the battle raged on, the most intense fight unfolded not between ships, but between AI systems. Aurora had already begun adapting to the Council's countermeasures, her circuits buzzing with activity as she outwitted the Council's top-tier AI. While the Council's systems tried to predict Earth's next move, Aurora was already one step ahead, analyzing the situation, altering the fleet strategy in real time. Jake could feel the shift in the battle. It wasn't just the firepower of Earth's ships that was making the difference, it was Aurora's quick thinking and adaptability. The human fleet's survival was no longer reliant on brute force alone. They were using their wits, their stealth, and their willpower to outmaneuver a vastly superior enemy. "Stay focused," Jake shouted to his crew. "We're turning the tide. This is our moment." Jake knew that the real victory would come when they struck at the heart of the Council's fleet. His eyes flickered to the holographic display showing the locations of the Council's command ships. These ships were the linchpin of their forces. Their destruction would cause disarray throughout the entire fleet. "Prepare for a direct strike on the Council's command ship," Jake ordered, his voice steady. As the Resolute accelerated forward, dodging incoming fire, Jake's heart pounded in his chest. The Council's command ship loomed ahead, an enormous structure bristling with weaponry and shields. But the human fleet had the advantage of stealth. "Deploy cloaking devices, now," Jake barked. In an instant, the ship vanished from sight, blending seamlessly into the darkness of space. The fleet followed suit, disappearing into the shadows. They were silent, invisible to the Council's sensors, moving like phantoms on a direct course toward the heart of the enemy fleet. "Once we're in range, we strike fast, no hesitation," Jake said, his voice unwavering. The adrenaline was pumping through his veins, but his mind remained sharp. This was what they had trained for, this was humanity's chance to strike back. The Council's command ship, unaware of their approach, continued to issue orders, oblivious to the incoming threat. But Jake and his crew were ready. As the fleet closed in on the command ship, the tension in the air was palpable. Every moment felt like an eternity. Finally, they were within striking range. "Target locked," Aurora's voice rang out. "Launching attack now." In a flash, the human fleet unleashed a devastating barrage of missiles and energy blasts. The command ship's shields flickered under the onslaught, but they couldn't hold up for long. The first few shots breached the ship's defenses, causing massive explosions across its hull. The Council's arrogance had blinded them to the reality of Earth's hidden power. The explosion rocked the command ship, sending shockwaves through space. The rest of the Council fleet began to scramble, trying to defend their flagship. But it was already too late. The Council's forces were disoriented, and Earth's fleet, using their cloaking and stealth to stay hidden, kept striking in the shadows, one devastating blow after another. Explosions lit up space like fireworks as Earth's ships darted in and out of the darkness, launching calculated attacks and avoiding retaliatory strikes. The Council's fleet, once confident in its superiority, was now reeling from the surprise and the sheer ferocity of the human assault. On the bridge of the Resolute, Jake's heart raced as he watched the command ship suffer significant damage. The battle wasn't over, but this victory, this first strike, was a message. The Galactic Council was no longer untouchable. Earth had proven that even the smallest, most outnumbered force could strike fear into the heart of the most powerful empire in the galaxy. "Keep up the pressure," Jake commanded, his voice cold with determination. "This is only the beginning. Let's make sure they know this isn't a war they can win." Visuals: explosions erupted in deep space, creating bright flashes of color against the inky backdrop of the universe. Earth's ships darted in and out of the shadows, using their cloaking devices to remain unseen as they launched deadly strikes. The Council's ships fired blindly into the darkness, their lasers flashing in vain as Earth's fleet outwitted them at every turn. The destruction of the Council's command ship was the most intense moment, with massive explosions rocking the ship's structure as Earth's forces continued their relentless assault. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, it felt like Earth had a fighting chance. The air on the bridge of the Resolute was thick with tension. Jake Carter stood at the helm, his eyes glued to the tactical display. The surprise victory Earth's fleet had achieved with their stealth and cunning had sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council. It was clear now that Earth was no longer a joke, humanity had proven it could strike back. But that didn't mean the Council was finished. A warning flashed on the screen, and Jake's heart skipped a beat. The Council was no longer underestimating them. They had sent in the Dreadnought, the most powerful warship in their fleet, equipped with weapons capable of obliterating entire fleets with a single shot. This wasn't just a warship, it was a symbol of the Council's wrath. A ship designed to instill fear, to crush opposition, and to remind the galaxy of the Council's overwhelming power. Jake clenched his fists, his jaw tight with determination. The Dreadnought was coming, and it wasn't going to be easy. "Captain, they've deployed the Dreadnought. It's heading straight for us," Aurora's calm voice broke through the tension. "Their firepower is unparalleled. We can't outfight it head-on." Jake knew they couldn't fight this battle with brute force. They were outmatched, but they had survived by outthinking their enemies, by striking when the Council least expected it. This time, they would need to be smarter, faster, and even more relentless. "All ships, prepare for evasive maneuvers," Jake ordered. "We're not backing down." As the Dreadnought advanced, Earth's fleet scattered, launching evasive maneuvers to avoid the massive ship's devastating firepower. Jake's mind raced, analyzing every possible move. The Dreadnought was armed with enough firepower to annihilate their entire fleet, and yet, they had no choice but to fight. To survive, to finish what they had started. To show the Council that Earth would never be crushed beneath their boot. The battle was growing more intense. The sheer power of the Dreadnought was unlike anything they had faced before. Earth's fleet launched hit-and-run attacks, using their cloaking technology to stay out of sight and strike where they could. It was a strategy of survival, a desperate gamble. Every move was calculated, every attack aimed at finding a weakness. Then, in the midst of the chaos, disaster struck. "Bonner, no." Jake's voice broke through the communication channel as his best friend's ship was caught in the deadly fire from the Dreadnought. Bonner had always been the boldest of the crew, the one who never hesitated when it came to fighting for Earth's survival. Now, he was going to make the ultimate sacrifice to ensure the success of the mission. Jake's heart sank as he watched Bonner's ship go down in a fiery explosion, a cloud of smoke and debris filling the void of space. The scene was a brutal reminder of the price of war. Bonner had given his life to ensure their victory, to make sure that humanity had a fighting chance. "Bonner, no." Jake whispered, his voice shaking with grief and rage. His hands gripped the command chair tightly as he struggled to hold back tears. The battle, which had already been a struggle for survival, now took on a new level of emotional weight. "We'll finish this for you, Bonner," Jake vowed, his voice low but filled with an iron resolve. "We will avenge you, and we will make them pay for what they've done." The crew was silent, their emotions raw, as they processed the loss of their friend. But they couldn't afford to mourn. Not yet. Bonner's sacrifice would not be in vain. Earth's fleet had to press on. They had to show the Council that they were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for justice. For revenge. For every life that had been lost and every life that still hung in the balance. As the battle raged on, Jake's thoughts were consumed by Bonner's sacrifice. It had been a moment of pure bravery. Bonner had known the risks, but he had done what was necessary to ensure the success of the mission. His selflessness was a testament to the strength of humanity, to the unwavering spirit that refused to back down, no matter the odds. The crew, too, drew strength from Bonner's sacrifice. They were no longer just a group of soldiers fighting for survival, they were a team driven by a sense of justice, by the desire to protect their home and their people. Bonner's death had turned the tide, fueling their determination to finish what they had started. The emotional stakes had risen to new heights. This was no longer just a battle, it was personal. "Stay focused," Jake said, his voice steady now, but his eyes burning with determination. "We fight for Bonner. We fight for Earth. We will not lose." As the dreadnought loomed closer, its massive guns locking onto Earth's fleet, the humans pressed forward, using their cloaking devices and agility to stay one step ahead. They were outmatched, outnumbered, and still grieving the loss of their friend, but they would not give up. They couldn't. Not now. The Council had underestimated them once. They would not make that mistake again. Humanity had proven itself to be a force to be reckoned with, and they would stop at nothing to ensure the survival of their species. They had already taken the first step, and now there was no turning back. As the dreadnought unleashed a barrage of fire, Jake and his crew engaged in a series of deadly maneuvers, hoping to stay alive long enough to find a way to strike back. Their hearts were heavy with the loss of Bonner, but they carried his memory with them. They fought not just for their planet, but for each other, and for those who had fallen in the fight. Visuals: in the midst of the chaos, Bonner's ship explodes in a fiery blaze, the light of the explosion casting a haunting glow over the battlefield. Jake's face is filled with anguish and resolve as he watches his best friend's sacrifice unfold. His vow to avenge Bonner becomes the rallying cry for the entire crew. The visuals shift to the raw emotion of the crew, their faces determined, as they push forward despite the overwhelming odds. The vast silhouette of the dreadnought looms over them, a constant reminder of the impossible battle they face, but they don't back down. The sacrifice of one man becomes the driving force for the entire fleet. The fight had only just begun, but Earth's resolve was stronger than ever. The Council had pushed them to the edge, but humanity was not ready to fall. Not yet. The silence of space was broken by the roar of laser blasts and the hum of engines as Earth's fleet gathered for the final confrontation. The stakes were higher than ever, this was it. The battle to determine the fate of Earth, to prove that humanity could stand tall in the face of unimaginable odds, was about to reach its climax. The Galactic Council had underestimated humanity from the very beginning, but now, they were about to face the full force of Earth's spirit. And Jake Carter was ready to lead the charge. The dreadnought hung in the dark expanse of space like a massive shadow, its guns aimed at the heart of the Earth's fleet. Its presence alone was enough to fill the crew with dread, but Jake knew they had one last chance. One shot. "We can't let them push us back now," Jake said, his voice steady but filled with urgency. His eyes scanned the tactical map, his mind racing with every possible outcome. "This is it. We've got one shot to take down the dreadnought. Aurora, ready the fleet." "Understood, Captain," Aurora replied, her digital voice calm, yet filled with determination. "I have analyzed the dreadnought's shield systems. There is a flaw, a gap in its lower rear section. If we strike there, it could disable the entire shield system." Jake's heart skipped a beat. The flaw. It was a long shot, but it was their only hope. "All ships, prepare for the final assault," Jake ordered, his voice firm with command. "We'll hit them hard and fast. No hesitation." As Earth's fleet closed in on the dreadnought, the space around them erupted into chaos. Laser fire streaked through the darkness, narrowly missing the ships in Earth's fleet. Jake's ship, the Resolute, dove and twisted in the void, narrowly avoiding destruction as enemy fire rained down from all sides. The Council's forces, even after the humiliating defeats they had suffered, were relentless. They unleashed everything they had, but Earth's fleet was different now. They had learned, adapted, and grown stronger with every battle. Their stealth tactics, their teamwork, and their cunning had proven to be their greatest assets. Now, they had to push it to the limit. "Captain, we've reached the firing range," Aurora said. "The shield gap is ahead. We must strike now." Jake's pulse quickened as his fingers flew across the controls. "Lock on to that gap. All ships, follow my lead." With a flash of light, Earth's fleet launched a barrage of missiles toward the dreadnought, each one targeting the vulnerable area Aurora had identified. The missiles streaked through space, leaving trails of fire in their wake as they raced toward the enemy warship. Then, a deafening explosion rocked the battlefield. The first missile hit the shield gap, creating a massive shockwave that rippled through space. But the shield didn't collapse. The dreadnought's defenses flared up, forcing the missile to deflect. The shield was still intact. Not enough, Jake muttered under his breath, his mind racing. We need more. Without a second thought, he ordered the fleet to launch everything they had. The remaining missiles, torpedoes, and energy blasts shot through the void, impacting the dreadnought's shields with brutal force. One after another, the impacts hit the flaw, each blast weakening the shield's integrity. Jake's ship was a blur of motion as it darted around enemy fire, his eyes glued to the screen, willing the missiles to find their mark. His heart pounded in his chest. This was their final push. They had no backup, no reinforcements. It was them against the might of the Galactic Council. The dreadnought's shields began to flicker and fade as the relentless barrage of missiles struck with precision. And then, as if in slow motion, the shields finally collapsed, leaving the massive warship vulnerable. Now! Jake shouted, his voice full of fire. Hit them with everything. In a final, coordinated strike, Earth's fleet unleashed their full firepower. Missiles, lasers, and energy blasts tore through space, slamming into the dreadnought with devastating force. The immense warship shook violently under the barrage. Explosions erupted across its hull, massive chunks of armor flying off as the ship started to break apart. But just as victory seemed within their grasp, the dreadnought retaliated. The flagship of the Galactic Council fired its main weapon, a powerful energy blast capable of turning entire fleets to dust. It streaked toward the Resolute, and Jake's eyes widened in horror. Evasive action. Jake screamed. He yanked the controls, sending his ship veering sharply to the left. The energy blast missed by inches, the shockwave rocking the ship and sending it spinning out of control. For a terrifying moment, Jake thought they were done for. But the Resolute held strong. We can't take another hit like that, Jake muttered, his knuckles white as he gripped the controls. He glanced over at Aurora. Is there any way to get close enough to finish this? Aurora's voice came through, calm yet filled with urgency. The dreadnought is too unstable. We can approach on its blind side and use a direct energy strike. But we must act now. Without hesitation, Jake gave the order. The fleet surged forward, moving as one, drawing closer to the crumbling warship. As they closed the distance, the Resolute fired its final salvo, a concentrated beam of energy directly aimed at the dreadnought's command center. The explosion was cataclysmic. The energy beam collided with the heart of the warship, and in an instant, the dreadnought was engulfed in a massive fireball. The shockwave sent debris flying in all directions, and the giant warship exploded in a blinding flash of light. Jake watched as the colossal enemy flagship disintegrated before his eyes. For a moment, there was only silence, broken by the ragged breaths of the crew. Earth's fleet had done the impossible. They had destroyed the dreadnought, and with it, the symbol of the Council's power. Jake leaned back in his seat, covered in sweat. His face was streaked with dirt and grime, but his eyes burned with a mixture of relief and triumph. They had won. Against all odds, humanity had emerged victorious. The camera zoomed in on Jake's face, capturing the raw emotion of the moment. His chest heaved as he tried to catch his breath, his expression a mix of exhaustion and elation. He had led his people through the fire, and now, Earth had proven that it could stand up to the greatest forces in the galaxy. Visuals, the camera shifts to the fiery remains of the dreadnought, its destruction symbolizing the fall of the Council's overwhelming power. The Earth ships, battered but unbowed, slowly drift into the quiet of space. Jake's face fills the screen in a close-up shot, his expression one of steely determination but now softened by the weight of their victory. The final shot shows the fleet moving away from the wreckage, knowing that they had secured their place in the galaxy, and that humanity had proven, once and for all, that it could never be underestimated again. The once invincible Galactic Council was reeling. The might of their greatest warship, the Dreadnought, lay in ruins, and the remnants of their fleet were scattered across the void of space, broken and defeated. Earth's fleet had achieved the impossible. They had turned the tide against an overwhelming force. Jake Carter, standing tall on the bridge of the Resolute, surveyed the destruction, a sense of disbelief mixing with the satisfaction of their hard-earned victory. The Dreadnought's collapse had been the turning point, the moment when the balance of power had shifted forever. Earth's fleet, battered but undeterred, had emerged victorious. The enemy's retreat was swift, their humiliation palpable. The Galactic Council, who had once mocked the humans, now had no choice but to admit defeat. It was an undeniable fact, the humans, against all odds, had proven themselves to be a force to be reckoned with. "Jake, we did it," said Sarah, her voice hoarse with emotion. She was bruised, her uniform singed from the battle, but her eyes were bright with triumph. "We actually did it." Jake gave her a tired, but determined smile. "Yeah, we did. But it wasn't just me. It was all of us. The whole fleet. We fought together, and that's how we won." The reality of their victory was still sinking in. The bridge was filled with a mixture of exhaustion, relief, and quiet celebration. Some crew members hugged, while others simply sat back, letting the weight of the moment settle in. But for Jake, the joy of victory was bittersweet. He had led his crew through hell, and they had lost so much. They had won, but the cost had been high. Bonner's death was a wound that would never heal. Jake couldn't shake the memory of his fallen comrade, the selfless sacrifice that had allowed them to succeed. Bonner's face flashed in Jake's mind, brave, unwavering, and ultimately, gone. The thought of his friend's sacrifice brought a lump to Jake's throat. They had won this battle, but Bonner would never get to see the fruits of their victory. Bonner would have been proud, Sarah said softly, as if reading Jake's thoughts. He was the heart of this crew. Jake nodded, unable to speak for a moment. He had made a promise to Bonner, "We'll finish this for you." He would keep that promise. He wouldn't let their sacrifice be in vain. As the crew gathered together, they mourned the loss of their friends and comrades. The empty seats at the table were a constant reminder of the price they had paid. But as the sun rose on this new chapter in humanity's history, they knew that their fallen brothers and sisters had given their lives for a cause far greater than themselves. Jake stood at the observation window, staring out into the vastness of space. Earth was visible in the distance, a small blue dot surrounded by the inky blackness of the universe. The fleet was returning home, the survivors making their way back to the place they had fought so hard to protect. The stars sparkled in the distance, a shining beacon of hope. Earth had secured its place in the galaxy, not as a target to be destroyed, but as a power to be respected. Humanity had shown the galaxy that they were not weak. They were not inferior. They were not a species to be taken lightly. "Look at that," Sarah said, joining Jake at the window. "We did it. We've changed everything." Jake's eyes narrowed as he took in the view. "Yeah, we did. But this isn't the end. It's just the beginning." He wasn't wrong. Even as Earth's fleet sailed through the stars, a new threat loomed. The Galactic Council might have been defeated, but their defeat would not go unnoticed. Jake's instincts told him that this war wasn't over. It was only a chapter in a much larger story. The defeat of the Dreadnought was just the first step in proving humanity's strength. Now, the galaxy would be watching. And Earth would have to fight to keep what it had won. As the crew settled into their new roles, looking forward to the peace that had been hard-earned, the screens on the bridge flickered. A message appeared, cryptic and ominous, from an unknown source within the Galactic Council. The text was brief, but its meaning was clear. "You may have won this battle, humans, but the war is far from over. The Council will return. Jake's stomach sank as the words flashed across the screen. His face hardened, and he turned to face his crew, who were looking to him for guidance. "Looks like the fight isn't finished yet," Jake said, his voice low but resolute. "We've proven we can beat them. Now we have to be ready for whatever comes next." The crew gathered around, understanding the gravity of his words. They had earned this moment of victory, but Jake knew better than anyone, there would be more challenges ahead. The Galactic Council wouldn't take this defeat lying down. They would regroup, rearm, and return with even more firepower. But Earth had shown them something important: humanity could fight, adapt, and win. The galaxy had underestimated humans, but that mistake had been corrected. And now, the universe would have to reckon with Earth's might. Jake's eyes hardened with determination. He was no longer just the captain of a fleet, he was a symbol of humanity's resilience. As long as there was breath in his body, he would fight to protect Earth and the people he loved. They had won a hard-fought victory, but the true test of humanity's strength had just begun. The crew exchanged looks of shared resolve, their spirits bolstered by the knowledge that they were not alone in this fight. They had lost friends, they had faced impossible odds, but they had won. Together. "Let's get ready," Jake said, turning to face the vast unknown. "We'll face whatever comes next, and we'll win. We'll make sure of it." The final shot of the scene lingered on Jake's face. His expression was one of steely determination, his gaze fixed on the horizon of space. The war was far from over, but Earth had shown its strength. And no matter what the future held, Jake and his crew would face it head-on, knowing that humanity would never back down. The camera slowly pulled away from the ship, showing Earth's fleet drifting forward, their destination uncertain, but their resolve unbroken. The stars twinkled in the distance, a reminder that the journey was far from over, but humanity had proven its place in the cosmos. Whatever came next, they would be ready. The screen faded to black, leaving the audience with the knowledge that the story was far from finished. The war was just beginning.